Add on to the show. Good morning, Sonny.
Hey, good morning.
So a pretty eventful day for you guys yesterday. So there was a board meeting before the governor's press conference where she announced former Governor Gutierrez to lead GVB temporarily for 90 days. So was that kind of the discussion in the board meeting that happened early yesterday afternoon?
Yeah, the position of president is a board hire. And how Governor Gutierrez's name came about is, Pilar advised us of her retirement come May 30th. And immediately after receiving her letter, I formed a search committee, and I received it on May 4th. We formed a search committee, and we really needed some time, okay? Because we didn't want to rush to fill in the permanent position. We needed some time, plus the fact that we had a lot of momentum moving forward. There's been a lot of work being done to gear up towards when that potential opening for visitor arrivals will be. And we didn't want to lose that momentum. So when I shared with Governor Liu our situation and the idea of having an interim president, so we don't rush our search and we don't lose momentum. She came up with former Governor Carl Gutierrez's name, and the fact that she's actually looking at him for in the bigger picture. To head the overall strategic economic council, I believe. I forget what the name is.
Yeah.
So this kind of worked out well. It fulfills the bureau's needs, and I think it gets Governor Gutierrez gets him involved, and he'll have real insight and access to information that will help him in the bigger picture on the task force or the council that he's going to be heading up. So I think it was a win-win. We worked it out with our search committee. We presented it to the board, and we approved his temporary hire for up to 90 days. Because again, the search committee is active, and we just also approved a job description. We're really looking at an executive level. We're looking at we didn't want to necessarily just look locally. We might broaden our search, and because the executive that we're looking for to man up the bureau is really a rebuild. It's rebuilding the industry,
right?
And so it's a long term. We're in this for COVID. Is going to be with us for the next 2 years, maybe longer, or until such time that there's a vaccine and it can be shared worldwide. But we're going to have to live in very different conditions at home, and as shoppers, as travelers, as life has changed for everyone worldwide. Yeah. And so we're dealing in a different paradigm, and so the next executive we will choose is going to be someone that can help rebuild and place us and make us, help our industry grow.
Sonny, I want to go back to when you said Governor Liu brought up the name of former Governor Gutierrez. What was your initial reaction? Did you have to check the phone and be like, hold on, wait a minute? Who'd you say?
No. We had a short list already of a 90-day transition. It was a search committee that we came up with the idea of having an interim president.
Right.
Just someone that, and we had some other folks in there, but his name made sense because the bureau is nothing new to him, and we also, so there wasn't a learning curve there.
Right.
And then there was also the Governor Liu's bigger picture. It made sense to transition him in, and so he's going to come out of GVB much more knowledgeable about where we're at and what needs to happen, and he puts that in his bigger equation of overall the overall look of the economy on Guam. And for Governor Carl, as I mentioned, there's a lot of things moving already. we're actually, the fact that we moved from PCOR 1 to PCOR 2 on May 10th, if all goes well, we could possibly be in PCOR 3 by mid-June. And when you're in PCOR 3, then the next step is opening up our borders. So we're targeting to be ready in July. You know, hopefully we're ready in July to at least on the ground. That's what's so important, is that we're ready on the ground, so that the airport knows how to handle, has its new operating procedures, that the hotels have their new operating procedures, that the restaurants have their new operating procedures, that the bus companies, and so on. Now, so we need to be safe on Guam. We need to have the right procedures, and everyone is used to it. That's why opening up the shops and the restaurants now, it's where the employees and are adapting to these new procedures of safety. Now, COVID-19 is going to be with us for a long time. It's a matter of reducing risk. And so if we can show to our core markets, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, that Guam has their procedures down, their airport is ready to receive, their hotels are ready to receive, and so on, then we're a step ahead. Because right now, there's going to be no travelers, even if we go into PCOR 3 or we open up our borders, because the fact is that there are quarantine requirements in Japan, in Korea, and in Taiwan, that anyone traveling back or traveling in, even if it's a returning local, returning to their country, they have to go under quarantine. So there's really going to be no tourist travel until those countries remove or ease their quarantine requirements. But we have to be ready. So that's the important thing, is we've gained momentum between the doctors and the business folks. You know, there's been meeting after meeting after meeting, and we're gearing up to be ready and to promote Guam as being a COVID safe. And so the Governor Carl comes in, and he can continue this momentum. You know, we can't committee these activities to death. We need to have now someone to command and be in charge and yeah. So that's where we're at. I think he's a good fit. It was a good call on Governor Liu's on Governor Liu's behalf, and I think the industry is acceptable of him. And like I said, he could be there for 30 days because we found an executive ready to come in, or he could be there up to 90 days.
What are the terms of his hire?
The terms of his hire are, like I mentioned, he's up to 90 days. He's already being paid by his current position.
I see. Okay.
He does have to have. He is going to. He works for the board. And he needs to continue to. He has to watch the shop. I mean, he has the authority of a president, and so he has to watch the shop. He has to attend the meetings. He has to be the voice of the bureau, and really to help again continue the momentum that's being built up. He needs to understand that we have a COVID task force already established within the bureau. And we have our plans, and so he needs to jump in there and throw in his ideas and share the plans and help move things forward. That's his job. But at the same time, there still needs the shop, the office to be manned, and so he has the full resources of the bureau and understanding it really is a temporary situation. And I think he fits well in, because as mentioned earlier, there's not a big learning curve. He knows the major players in the industry, and it was a good fit.
Right, Sonny. So right now we're on Give Us a Moment, right? So what do you anticipate the next phase to be? I know you said that we're looking at possible, if all things go well. Of course, this is hypothetical. Reopening in what do you say, by July? So what would then be? I mean, Give Us a Moment. That's a great idea. What do you kind of, and I know you don't have anything official yet, but just kicking it around in your brain. I mean, you're a guy who knows. What would kind of be the next step for you guys?
No, we've already the next phase of the next messaging or shortly to come. The messaging is going to be showing that we are ready. We have to be able to say, and so our destiny is in the hands of the people. We cannot let our guard down. The practices of proper hygiene and social distancing, from the home to the office to the beach. Everyone, we have to get this in our minds. You know, we cannot let our guard down for a moment. COVID-19 is with us. It's going to be with us for a long time. But if we can show, if we get used, we need to get used to and abide by new operating procedures of safety and hygiene, and you know, it's not that COVID-19 is going to be gone. It's about minimizing risk.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where we're at. And mind you, this build up on tourism side, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And when we start opening up, you know, we're talking about hundreds maybe, you know, and it's going to be hundreds, and it's going to trickle in. It's going to trickle in. They're not going to come in droves. Mm-hmm. But we do have certain advantages, you know. I mean, between Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. I mean, Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. Travelers, we understand, are not going to be excited about the long haul trips. Europe, the New York, the Los Angeles, and probably not even Hawaii. So shorter trips, Guam is poised well. Right. But important is that we are ready on the ground, from the airport to the hotel, back to the airport. Everywhere the tourist, a visitor comes, we know how to handle. We know how to deal with them, from room sanitize. I mean, I could go down the list.
Right.
But you talk. Go ahead.
I don't say so. It's Governor Guterres' job there. You know, to he's going to keep driving it. That, hey, Tom Ada, you guys got it down up there at the airport. Okay. Hey, Mary Rhodes, you guys got, you know, where are you guys at with the hotels and the restaurants and their preparations? Hey, medical group, you know, are we ready in case this and that? So yeah, that's the momentum, and the leadership needs to be there to keep reminding folks, hey, we need to be ready, and do we have the proper standard and the proper standard and procedures for again, hygiene, social distancing, in minimizing the risk of the spread of COVID-19.
Right, but what about mandatory quarantine for visitors that do come in? Do we foresee that still being in place in July?
You know, it's to be seen. Mm-hmm. You know, and July is, there's no magic date.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If the, you know, we could remove or modify the quarantine requirements on Guam, but that doesn't mean travelers are going to come here, because, as I said earlier, they might still have the strict quarantine requirements in the area, in the core markets that we're looking at
when they come back, right?
Or when they
come
come here for 3 days and then go back there for and have to be quarantined for 14,
right? Yeah.
Right. So it's not all, you know, it's not all our decision. But I think the important thing is that we are ready, that we know how to deal with them when borders start to open.
Sonny, worldwide, what destinations are starting to see tourist arrivals? Because I don't really follow the tourism, and I know you do, though, but it kind of seems like the world is still dealing with the COVID. But are there any bright spots out there where the people are flying in and doing the tourist thing?
You know, no, I mean, you know, I catch snippets here and there from the news. My focus is what's going on in Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, you know, and at least in those areas, some domestic travel is happening. You know, I mean, you hear about Italy's opening up. I mean, you can get bargain basement deals for traveling to Italy, you know, so different countries and different areas. I just in the news this morning, New Jersey's casinos are opening, but it's a trickle. So people are trying to get into some normalcy. The whole airline industry, it's a whole other big component, but they have to adapt to half full planes maybe because of social distancing within the airplane. So it's like I mentioned, it's a rebuild. It's not just Guam's tourism that needs to rebuild and reconfigure and it's a whole rebuild for the world in terms of tourism.
Mm-hmm. So what other names have been on this list or short list that you guys have that you're potentially looking at?
You know what? I mean, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter. You know, we have our guy, and we're going to work with him as best we can and move forward.
Are you anticipating any other leadership changes there at the Bureau, Sonny?
Yeah, when we get our permanent president,
All right, right.
and that's what we're gearing up for, and then that's our goal, and so this just gives us time to concentrate and find the best executive level person to work at the bureau, to lead the bureau.
Where does the deputy Bobby Alvarez? Where does he fit into the picture in terms of former Governor Gutierrez?
No, he's still our deputy. I mean, our vice president. If there are any with Governor Carl, he's in there. Any changes to personnel, we've left that. That needs to be that should be the call of the permanent president coming in. So any major moves, if you will, in the short term, will need board approval.
Right.
So,
yeah. So what would happen if Uncle Carl says, "Hey guys, I know we got this deputy over here, but I want to bring in one of my own guys, and we just in the interim we work together, take care of some things." Would that be something the board would be in agreement to, or would it depend on how it's presented?
Yeah, whether the board agrees or not, I don't know how it's presented, who's it presented, why it's presented. That's the board's duty. But at this point, Bobby Alvarez is our vice president, and we're just dealing with an interim president right now.
Okay.
If there are going to be other changes, we'll work with what we need to work with. Yeah.
Sorry, Bobby, I'm not trying to make you nervous. I don't know if Bobby's listening. He's like, wait a minute, do they know something? No, we don't. We're just asking.
But as the interim president, he can hire whoever he wants to hire to help him fulfill his mission over the next 90 days.
Again, by board approval. If there's justification for the presentation of this change or that.
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't think it's going to be fair to be making any permanent changes when that should be that should be left for the new incoming permanent president. That's my view.
Right. Yeah.
How many applicants are you guys anticipating to receive if you're opening it up to
the world?
That's and that's a good question. I mean, just at our board meeting yesterday, getting some feedback. How wide do we want to cast the net? Do we want to keep it from Hawaii, for example, from Hawaii West, or do we want to hire a headhunter to vet through a worldwide look, global look? We don't want to keep it just local, but we also don't want it to get crazy and get someone might have a great resume, but from New York, but how relevant is that experience over here when we're primarily dealing with the Asian market? So yeah, we'll work it through. We'll meet again. I mean, since the Pilar's letter of retirement, we've met, 4, 5, 6 times already, and this is an ongoing process. The board approved the job description. The board approved the temporary hire and the temporary contract. So we're moving along, and I think we can accomplish this within 90 days and have someone new, a new leadership down at the board at the Guam Visitors Bureau.
How much of a surprise was it that Pilar decided to retire? I think it was maybe just a week before GVB held that big webinar or conference over Zoom, and then all of a sudden,
Then we got May 5th. We got our letter. Again, I when I received it, and she gave me a call, and I received it, I was surprised, but. I respect her. I respect her decision for whatever she's put in 41 years, and
right.
I think she's been a great asset. She's a cornerstone of tourism for Guam. She's a professional, through and through. I worked with her when I was in the bureau back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I've worked with her now that last year and less than a year and a half, but. she is well known in Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, in my time, in the earlier times, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan for sure. She is known as a professional. She's very well respected as a professional. She's got into the PATA International Group board of directors. Yeah, I can't say enough about the woman, you know,
Right.
and I give her, you know, she's going to be a loss, but you know, she set some good examples down there, and you know, pre-COVID, we had record number of arrivals, we had record number of collections from the tourist into the tourist attraction fund, and you know, a lot to her credit, you know, and just the overall growth in the past 41 years of tourism on the island. Pilar's fingerprints are all over that,
Right.
you know. So yeah, a lot of credit to her. I
Right.
wish her well, and yeah, and we move on, and it's a whole new world that we're dealing with in just our regular lives, but tourism in particular, with the bureau for sure.
Sonny, have you guys established criteria qualifications for the president search?
Yes, we have. Like I mentioned, we did approve a job description of the executive level type person we're looking at, and yeah, so that you know, we're going to put it out there. Let me you know, when we gather and figure out how wide a net we want to cast, as I mentioned. Then that'll be presented. I think that'll be the appropriate time to really present the duties and responsibilities that we're looking for, the experience we're looking for, and qualifications.
Okay, well, yeah, well, once you get it, if you could shoot that over to us, that would be nice. So thanks a lot, Sonny.
Yeah, it was great to have you on. No trick questions.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But, you know, our you know, you know, I have to say this. I give a lot of credit to Governor Liu, because she really, you know, the stay at home and the social distancing and that getting pounded into our heads is why we have lower numbers today. But moving forward, we really have to now pound into the heads of the businesses not to let our guards down. We, you know, the destiny of tourism for Guam is in the individual hands of everyone that lives here. We cannot let our guard down. We have to live up to and practice and make it second nature these new operating procedures that pertain to our different jobs that are relative to tourism.
Correct, Sonny. Thank you. Hey, and we would love to get you on, you know, maybe weekly, bi-weekly, if you can, just an update from the GVB board chair. I'd really appreciate that.
Okay, well, you know my number now.
I got it. I do. And thank you so much, Sonny.
Thanks
you.
you guys.
Take
Have
care.
a good weekend. Wash your hands.
Of course.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
There you go. That's the GVB board chair, Sonny Ada. Let's keep it going here. I want to go over to Minority Leader Senator Tello Taidagui. Good morning, Senator.